So a couple of things about QR codes that it's kind of a throwback into history. Another generational thing. How many people remember the dial landline phone lines, right?
I've seen that.
Next generation are going to be claiming that they never existed. So the deal about the landline phone lines is, I mean, for years we thought this is all you need, right? A phone at the office, a phone at home. Where else would you ever need to make a phone call? Having not had the experience of making a phone call on a jogging trail or from wherever, people just thought, why would anybody ever want to make a phone call? Of course, when you get into a major car accident on a highway in 1975 and you're bleeding out, that would be a good place to have a cell phone. Right? Today, if that happens, what do? We scramble for our purse or we grab our phone and we call 911 and we save our own lives. But in the day, what are you going to do? You have to wait for another car to come by. He doesn't have a cell phone. You got to go to a pay phone. Somebody's got to have a quarter. And then maybe you'll save your life. Well, that was the problem then. And we solved it by coming up with this really savvy new cell phone technology where we need to make a phone call. We need to communicate verbally to anybody, even overseas. We can do it in real time. But in a way, you're right, technology really does play havoc in your life. I'm going to start talking about something non-technology related. So in a way, we're repeating that thing because we now have these things called landline computers. If you're doing data processing today, you're almost always bellied up to a desktop or a laptop somewhere, doing your taxes or playing Angry Birds or typing a letter. You're always at home or at the office, or maybe you're on your smartphone doing something, but mostly you're still tethered to your computer. And that's going to go on for a while because even my smartphone, which I have with me all the time, I'm not going to go sit in a park somewhere and fire up QuickBooks and pull out all my receipts and enter all those in. So I'm still going to go to my computer to do the large volume tasks. But if you think about it, maybe we shouldn't be going to our computers at tax time and pulling out receipts that we pulled in last May, entering in this April for so that we have our taxes. Maybe when we got the receipt, maybe we should have entered it then. And that's the way you would use a smartphone, right? Because if the receipt had one of these codes, a QR code on it, then you'd be able to scan the code. It would contain all the information about the transaction. It could take a photo of the receipt, so you now have a photo, you can throw it away when you're done. It can open up QuickBooks, it can jam that stuff in. It could ask you if it's tax deductible, yes, no, and you can type no. Now you're done. When tax time comes around, as long as you scanned in all your receipts and you scanned in all your pay stubs, your taxes are done. There's no reason to go to your computer at all. So in reality, thanks to QR code, thanks to technology of any kind that contains data that communicates to a smartphone, and we'll learn later on in this presentation that there's other things besides QR codes. We're not married to the inanimate object. But we are married to the fact that in real time, if we need to do data processing, like our shopping, like our education, like our taxes, things like that we normally reserve for a big session at the computer, we can do that stuff in smaller pieces. But it will require a software rewrite. So in reality, I'm thinking that every piece of software out there in the world today will need to be rewritten into smaller bite-sized chunks such that a smartphone can communicate with it. And whoever gets there first will get the benefit of the adoptership of that technology, and whoever waits won't get that benefit. So I talked about taxes, cashiers, right? We go to a grocery store, we push around all this stuff, we're grabbing all these transactions. Right? If we were scanning the stuff as we were putting it into the cart, we could theoretically just slide our card on the cart and leave, but we stand there in line at the cash register waiting for 40 other people that are funneling in to our tethered computer called the cash register to get our stuff checked out. Classrooms is a great example where we learn everything tethered into these rooms. We learn things that we really have no business learning in a room, like biology or agriculture. We learn about trees and plants in a classroom where there's no trees or plants. If we want to learn about trees and plants, we should walk through an arboretum with a phone and just point it at things and let it teach us about it so that we don't have to remember what those plants look like when we're actually out in the wilderness. We learn about it in the classroom and we go out in the wilderness and hope we remember it. And statistics show that we're not remembering that well. Gaming, entertainment, even Google is tethering us to computers. When we Google something, I've heard people say, when I get home, I'm going to Google that. I'm not even Google on your phone. I should just Google it from your phone. People don't do it. So what are some of the ways that the association is tethered to landline computers, right? There's got one of the things that I hope to do today is to kind of whet the appetites of your various associations about how you're doing things using tethered technology where like I'm forced to go to a computer. I know, like for meeting planners, I see a lot of registration happening. Like there's a bottleneck at the reg table because we got to enter all the names in one spot. But in theory, if everybody's packet had a QR code on it, then they could just scan their own QR code with their phone, and it could wake up our registration process and alert us that they're here. You wouldn't even necessarily need a registration table. Now that's just one. There's 1,000 things that you're doing on the computers today, but we're tethered to the computer. So the question that you want to ask yourself is, how can we leverage a smartphone technology and put the app that I want to launch and the parameters of that app out in the world somewhere and let people do their own data processing instead of bottlenecking it and having one person in charge of typing in all the data. We should just be typing in our own data, and we really shouldn't even be typing. We should be waving our magic wand, and it should be going in. I may be losing some of the baby boomers with that, and I recognize that. But that's okay. I know that I'm dealing with multiple generations. Some people are like, baby war.
You lost me there.
Lost you at hello. So the freedom from landline computers really is these QR applications. The idea is, instead of having a QR code that just redirects to a website, you have a QR code that launches an application. If you think about it, imagine if your desktop computer that had all those icons, if every one of those icons, if you clicked it, it just brought up a website. It would make the computer pretty boring, right? But what they do is they launch different applications. Well, a website is an application. It's just a browser that says redirect to this particular HTML page. But it could be saying fire up the registration process, fire up Angry Birds, fire up, call me a taxi, or give me takeout food. It could be all kinds of things. You just scan a code, it launches the application to perform that thing. Restaurants could be, you don't necessarily have to have a waiter. You can literally scan the menu and just wake up the kitchen that this is what I'm ordering. Now waiters probably won't like that, but maybe there'll be restaurants that have them and some that don't, and it's cheaper if you don't have waitresses. I don't know. I do know that every piece of technology and several new technology that we never dreamed of in a million years are going to come on the horizon in the next year or two as a result of the fact that this technology is here and as a result of the QR application. So look around you. If the whole world can now be the World Wide Web, right? Every single thing can have a QR code on it. I can put one on this chair. I can put one on me. I did. Right? There's one on me. I can put one on the mirror. Put one on the chandelier. I can put one anywhere in the world. So the question is, if there was an application launched, because I placed a launchable item on an inanimate object, what would we want it to do? This is where the associations can start to think about ways that they can literally revitalize what they're doing. If there was a QR code on this chair and I scanned it, I would probably want a menu item that said, order more chairs. Maybe another one that says, tell me the ergonomic value of this chair. Is it going to hurt my back after how long? Tell me what that pattern is of the thing. Tell me, I don't know, what kind of wood this is. There's all kinds of things that you can do. So this could be an app. Go ahead.
Well, do you have an example of an association or another meeting that has used for their conference, used a QR code in a successful way? Can you demonstrate for us to see?
Sure.
I don't know if we
sure.
getting ahead of you.
Most conferences, any networking event, people exchange business cards and brochures and flyers all the time. And so when you leave a conference, you come home with a pocket full of business cards or maybe a bag full of brochures. Maybe if you're an exhibitor, you have a fishbowl full of cards, and you have the arduous task, much like the arduous task of when I get to the office, I got a ton of phone calls to make, I collected a bunch of cards. You've got to take all that data and enter it into your computer system so that you can do your follow-up, right? That's what networking is all about. But at this event, everybody's wearing a QR code on their badge. And if you take your smartphone and you download that QR reader and you scan another person's badge, you'll see all their contact information that would normally appear on their business card will be right on your phone. And you can click a single button to call them, click a single button to email them, click a single button to save it to your Outlook or to your Google contact. You can click a single button to see a map of their location with directions to where they are. And that information is being stored in the cloud that Mary met Sally. So at the end of the event, and this is for this event, when you get home, your email that's on record with KSAE, you'll get an email with a neatly formatted report of everybody that you scanned and of everybody that scanned you. So you don't have to collect people's business cards at this event. You can just scan each other. And one scan does a bi-directional business card swap. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is the program book for this event has a product called the ZippyQ. It's a digital business card. And if you scan that, it'll have the logo of the event, the KSAE logo. It'll have hot links to call, email, hit the Facebook. What else is on there? The conference register, the conference information sheet. So it's an application that's very specific, very smartphone friendly about this event. And what's really cool about the one on the program is, if you scan it and you're looking at, say, the event agenda, and you're at dinner with somebody that sees that you're looking at the agenda on their phone, and they go, "Where did you get that?" You go, "Oh, I scanned a QR code that was on my program book that's up in my room." And they go, "Oh, how do I get that?" Well, you can share it with them phone to phone with a thing called spawning. You just click a button and then their phone can scan your phone and they have it. Or you can post that event agenda up to your Facebook or up to your Twitter. So everybody that's on your Facebook account now sees that you're at the KSAE event and this is their QR code. And if they scan it, they can read all about the event and they can scan it with their friends. So that's two. But there's, later in this conversation, in this presentation, there's actually at least 3 more that I thought of. I bet you there's 100. I bet you there's 100 ways to leverage this technology. So I'm really scratching the surface when I say things as outlandish as look around the room and see where you would put this weird thing and pointing to a chair. For most people that makes no sense at all. But it might be waking up something inside of you is that this technology is something that's a little bit outside of the box thinking. It's somewhere that I've never thought of. And as I go on with the rest of this presentation, you'll see that I've placed QR codes places that even my wife's told me they don't belong there. And now, after hindsight, it looks like, oh, that was actually kind of a cool idea. And don't get me wrong, they're not all